Here's how you can enchant any mirrored item like this shiny ornament to become a sentinel mirror for protection. It's simple to do and works no matter how much witchcraft experience you have. Let's be honest, sometimes you just don't have the energy to keep up with your regular daily protection magic, and that's why it helps to have something that keeps working for you even when your energy is low. A sentinel mirror is a perfect charm for that, and I'll show you exactly how to make one. Coming up next. Welcome to the Witch's Studio. I am, of course, Mickie Mueller, author, illustrator, and witch, not necessarily in that order. And I'm so glad that you stopped by my studio so we can make this really cool protection charm known as a sentinel mirror. So I wrote and illustrated a whole book about mirror magic for Llewellyn, and it was after that it was published, I kept coming up with more ideas and more ways to work with mirrors in my witchcraft. So I taught some of those techniques while I was doing my book tour when this book first came out, and then I added those techniques and even more that I came up with to a set of Book of Shadows pages that's all about mirror magic. The technique I'm showing you today comes from that printable Book of Shadows pages set. And if you end up liking this one a lot and you want more of this, hit the subscribe button now. It doesn't cost a dime, but it's a great way to see more of my videos, and both mirror magic and protection magic are topics that I do like to share here. And for anybody who's interested, I'm also sharing my printable set of Mirror Magic Book of Shadow pages over on my Patreon for my paid members this month. There's 11 pages here. And for anyone who really wants the pages, if you're just not sure if you're ready to become a Patreon member yet, you can purchase it separately over there on Patreon. When you see this piece, you might be thinking, well, that just looks like a witch's ball. And you're right, it's similar, but not exactly the same. The one I'm making today happens to be round, but a sentinel mirror can be any shape, and functionally it is different than the clear glass witch balls that I showed in this video. A witch's ball is meant to trap harmful energy that comes your way, and according to tradition, the energy is destroyed when the sunlight hits it every morning. A sentinel mirror is different in that it can be round, but it also can be any other shape, and it is always a mirrored item. And it's an item that has been charged to emit a predetermined kind of helpful energy into your home on a regular basis, while also deflecting harmful energy away from you, both guarding and blessing your home. And the one I'm making today is just for protection, but with a few changes of ingredients and intentions, you can make one for any energy you want, like healing, rest, abundance, and constantly saturate an area with whatever you need in your life. This time of the year is a great time to start looking for items to use as sentinel mirrors. I find myself often this time of the year perusing the Halloween aisle, mostly just because it makes me happy. And in the past, I've been slightly annoyed that the Christmas aisle fills up before we even hit Thanksgiving. But if we stroll down and check out the tree ornaments, you might be surprised at what you can find there. I'm always on the lookout for interesting mirrored ornaments. And this year, this beautiful silver crackled mirror orb really grabbed my attention. And it was over at my local Walmart. It's really nice quality. It's heavy, and it was under $3 at my local store. Now, I think I've heard that prices can vary from one store to another depending on where you live, but this was too good not to share. You don't have to use this exact one. In fact, it doesn't even have to be round. Any mirrored item will work for this method. This was just the one that I found locally, and it inspired me to make this video for you. I've grabbed some supplies, so let's come on over to my work table and I will show you a couple different ways to turn any mirrored item into a sentinel mirror. I have two methods for enchanting or charging a sentinel mirror, and because this item has a way that you can open it, I thought this would be the perfect solution to show you both ways to charge it. One method will involve putting items inside of it, and the other method will involve a mirror wash. And you can do one or the other or both, depending on what kind of item you have and what you want to do. I live in a really small town and there are hardly any places to shop here, so that made this a pretty cool find. You can use any silver ornament, mirrored ornament like this that you have for your tree as well. I noticed as I went through them that some of them, the tops were slightly loose because the top is actually glued on there. I purposely chose one that had a loose top because I wanted to be able to open it up. But if you choose to use the same one that I did and you can't find any in your store with a loose top, there is a little hole up there. Just grind your herbs really fine and you carefully sift them down through there if you want to do the fill method like I'm going to show you. And because I picked one that was a little bit loose, I was able to wiggle it and really get that top off fairly easily. Now, because those little prongs are not very long, as you can see, without it being glued on, that ball is way too heavy. So I will have to glue that on when I'm finished. But look how thick the glass is in that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove the tags and everything. And then we're going to clear this of any energy that it holds so that we're starting from fresh. I am also going to clear the energy in two different ways because I want you to feel empowered to do it in any way that you want to. First thing I'm doing is using some dragon's blood incense. You can use any incense that you like. And I'm just going to smoke cleanse this. I'm clearing it with smoke on the outside and on the inside. I like the dragon's blood because it's good for clearing and cleansing, of course, but it's also great for protection magic and it boosts the energy of anything else that you're doing. So it's also one that I had on hand. I always like to get the inside too. And yeah, this part of it is very similar to how you would do a witch's bottle. I love the smoke coming out of it. And I don't want to forget that little lid. The second method that I'm going to show you that you can use to clear any mirror is my mirror purification wash. This one was already made, but I do have it in my book, The Witch's Mirror. This is the recipe I used. You can pause it here if you want to read the ingredients. I personally love making this wash for any time I want to do mirror magic just to get my mirrors back to neutral. And don't worry that I didn't show you the method for creating this wash because we're also going to make a protection mirror wash that I'm going to use to enchant this orb, and I will show you how to do that in this video. I went through my witchy supplies and I just gathered up some items that I know are protective, and that's what we're going to include inside of this orb, and we're also going to use most of these items to make the wash. The first one is lavender, and because ingredients have multiple purposes, I like to awaken the attribute in it that I want to access as I'm adding it. I'm also adding a quartz crystal. Quartz is a general energy booster and adds energy to any working. Garlic is a great protective herb and I happen to have it on hand, so I'm also going to drop garlic in there. I don't usually add a fresh garlic clove to a general witch bottle situation, but because this has this little hole in top, that clove will dry out and will not mold, so I'm using it. I'm adding a couple little allspice, and you know, my magic isn't one size fits all, so feel free to use what you have on hand that's protective. I love these little evil eye beads and I had one on hand, so I decided to add one of those as well. And because we just finished talking about cat magic on my channel, I decided to add one of these little cat claws. And to clarify for anybody who didn't see that, this is a cat claw sheath. It was naturally shed. No cats were harmed. Learn more about this in my cat magic series. I absolutely love cloves for protection magic because so much of the crap energy that people like to send includes nasty gossip, and cloves are great for stopping that in its tracks. I'm also including fennel. Fennel is a great protective herb. It's one of the ones that's in my original formula for the protection mirror wash. I mean, I really don't usually do any spell the same exact way twice. I tend to approach my witchcraft with kind of a folk magic outlook, whereas I try to just use what I have on hand. I am adding some salt to this as well. I had this big chunky salt, which I kind of like. And then I found the spoon, which made it a little bit easier to add. And I'm glad I found the spoon because I have powdered ginger and this would have been a hot mess, but it worked out just fine with my little spoon. And my spoon was hanging out with this rose, which has these tiny little thorns, which are super protective, so I'm going to drop that one in as well. I am grabbing my handy dandy witchcraft tool, E6000, which is a really good adhesive for gluing stuff together. I am going to apply it here around the lip of that and just kind of affix that to it. Now I have to confess, I let this dry for 24 hours and I thought that I had done a good job with the glue. I actually had to re-glue it, and I suggest that you put the glue on the inside of the lid instead because that really made it work. And here is how I make my witch's mirror washes. I'm adding the protective herbs to a tea ball. For this one I'm doing allspice, some lavender, cloves, and fennel, which ties us back to my original formula. I'm also adding some rowan wood, which I happen to have. And if you want an easy printable list of common household herbs that you can use for protection magic, I will leave a link in the description below so that you can find it. The next step is to simply steep those herbs in hot water. Basically, we are making an infusion, and it's just like making tea. Now, you definitely want to let it cool and steep before you do the next step. And I do this one because a tea ball is not foolproof and some little herbs do get through. So I like to put a coffee filter in a container. You can secure it to the top of the container with a rubber band or with a clip of some kind, or both in this case. If I used a mason jar like I usually do, the rubber band would have been plenty, but I wanted to use that cool glass, so it would be pretty for you. But you can see here in my mason jar, there's a little bit of sediment in the bottom, so we're just going to pour it through the coffee filter. This step will help it to last longer if you don't have debris in it, and it's super important if you're going to put it in a little spritz bottle like I have my mirror purifying wash in. And now I'm going to mix my infusion approximately half and half with vinegar. This does not have to be exact. Vinegar does double duty because it's highly protective and there's nothing that polishes glass better. I'm decanting it in this pretty glass bottle that I've had. I ran out of these little spray bottles that I used for my glass purifier. So again, I'm making do with what I have. Anybody want to guess whether I'll label that or not? I hope that I do. And if I'm honest, I'm kind of glad that I didn't have another spray bottle so that I can show you that you don't have to have a spray bottle to do this. As I'm wiping it down with the wash, I'm envisioning the purpose that I want it to do. I'm envisioning it becoming a shield, a protector. I know that all those protective herbs in that wash will leave a crunchy candy coating of protection energy around the outside of it. Now you can absolutely use the hanger that came with it, but I have this pretty ribbon that I'm going to use, because that's just how I want to do it. Do it however you want to do it. Your magic is your magic, and it's just as unlimited as you are. Anytime you're tying a knot, that's another opportunity to add magic. I'm adding my intention to that knot. And because I like to work with the goddess Hecate, I am adding a key to represent my connection with her. I'm also adding this hold stone, also known as a hag stone, that Dan and I found down by the river. Hold stones are highly protective and they just bring me joy. Adding something that makes you happy to a protection amulet is always a good idea, because if you have your house filled with joy, there's no room for baneful energy to slip in. Now that all the elements to this protective sentinel mirror are in place, I'm going to awaken it by tracing a pentagram on it with wash. You can also use an equal-armed cross or any rune that you like. Now focus your energy on that sentinel mirror. What would it feel like for that sentinel mirror to do its job? Because I'm making this one for protection, I'm going to imagine what it feels like when I lock my door and I know that I'm protected. I might think about a knight with a shield and sword. And now I'm going to use the power of words to speak it into being. And you can say something like, "You shall be a sentinel to guard and protect my home, emitting protection always as the light you reflect." Wording it for whatever the intention is that you're making it with. Trace a clockwise circle around the same area where you had the pentagram. And as you do, say something like, "The magic continues and radiates infinitely." And now you've charged your sentinel mirror with its task. I hope you really enjoyed that and that you learned a couple of new tricks. A sentinel mirror can be placed anywhere in your home that you feel guided to put it. You don't have to recharge it or worry about it. It works when you're too busy or too tired to deal with things. It's your helper and your guard, always on duty. So when you're out shopping, keep your eyes peeled and see what kind of mirrored items that you might find that you can turn into your own Sentinel Mirror. And if you don't want to spend a lot of money, or any money for that matter, you can look around your house. You might actually have something that you can use already. If you enjoyed our time here, hitting the like button is one of the best ways to let me know that you appreciated this work. Let me know in the comments what kind of items you might have in your home to make a Sentinel mirror like this one. And don't forget to share this video with that friend. You know the one. They've been through a lot and need a little extra protection, and especially something that will work even when they've just had enough. Thanks again for joining me here in the Witch's Studio. I will see you next time. Until then, I hope that you stay safe, happy, and healthy. And remember, as always, to be your magic. Bye, everybody. Book. Book. And functionality. When you see this piece, you might be thinking, what? It's blasted. It's like,